This video is sponsored by Surfshark. We've just spent 7 days and nights at sea as we sailed north from New Zealand towards Fiji. But the sail wasn't as dreamy as we'd hoped. With me being pregnant and seasick, Gary had to handle the sailing and galley duties, while I just tried to stay hydrated. We decided to make a pit stop at one of the most remote and beautiful places in the Pacific Ocean, Minerva Reef. We would use this submerged coral atoll as a safe anchorage for some rest. But of course, we also had to get out and explore every corner of this ocean paradise.
We are here at Minerva Reef in the middle of the ocean. We got a nice long 16-hour sleep last night, got some water making and chores done this morning and the boat all cleaned up. And it's just about low tide, and at low tide the reef just about dries out and you can go kind of walk on it. And from what we understand, there's lots of big lobsters under the rocks on the reef here. Last time we were here about 6 or 7 months ago, we were pretty preoccupied with scuba diving, so we actually didn't go hunt for lobsters, but this time we're gonna go see what we can find. There's also a couple sections of some shipwrecks right near where we're anchored inside the lagoon here, and we're gonna go swim over and check those out.
We headed over to check out the wreck of the Commandery, easily spotted as the bow section breaks the surface of the water at low tide. This 110-foot steel steamer was built in Scotland in 1886 and had an 83-year service life, mostly running between Queensland and Tasmania. But in October of 1969, she met her end after running aground on North Minerva Reef. Today, after 50 years, the bow section remains largely intact, with corals colonizing every surface. A short distance away lays the remainder of the shipwreck, teeming with life as schools of fish take shelter in its skeletal remains. Wrecks like these always fascinate us with their beauty, but are also a glaring reminder of how dangerous it can be to voyage across these waters.
Well, we didn't find any lobsters today, but the reef here is spectacular, and we went and visited 3 sections of a shipwreck. We don't know the history of it, but it was really cool to see the steel structure that was left from the ship and how the coral and life has just completely engulfed it and taken it over. And we came back to the boat, had hot showers, and we're just gonna relax like this all night. Brooke's pouring herself 0 alcohol wine.
Woohoo! Fancy! Look at that!
Cheers.
Cheers! You'd think out here, anchored in the middle of nowhere, that we would be pretty removed from society, but with Starlink, we still manage to stay online. But just because we can remain connected doesn't mean that our connection is secure, and that's why this week's video is sponsored by Surfshark. By using Surfshark VPN, our connection remains private no matter where our floating home is. With Surfshark, we can browse safely and access content from back home, because some nights I just want to hang out and watch US Netflix. You can actually pick any of over 100 countries to be virtually located in, so it really opens up a whole world of streaming content. Most importantly though, we use Surfshark for essential activities like accessing financial and government websites that would otherwise be blocked when they see a foreign IP address. This allows us to continue to be digital nomads no matter where we are, even in a place like Minerva Reef. If you travel, work remotely, or value your digital privacy, we highly recommend checking out Surfshark, and they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk for you to try it out. Head on over to surfshark.com/sailing1life or enter discount code sailing1life for an extra 4 months free. All right, I'm gonna get back to watching Netflix. So while we're here, there's not too much to do really. We're actually the only boat in the anchorage, which is really cool. But yeah, so we're just gonna go for another swim, another snorkel, and see what we find, see if Gary can get any lobster. We've really just been like hanging out. High tide is pretty bumpy here because the water actually comes up over the reef. So we can only really get stuff done like around the boat and swimming wise at low tide. Otherwise it's like really rolly and hard to like work on our laptops and stuff. So we've been reading books and just enjoying this beautiful place. This morning I was just sitting out on the deck in the beanbag, just looking out into this really clear blue water. But anyway, looking forward to going for another snorkel, and who knows what we'll see today. At low tide, you can actually walk on the dead remains of the reef, stepping carefully to avoid any live coral. And under the big rocks, delicious spiny lobster can often be found. Thought I got you. These guys were a little smaller, so we let them be. Gary made sure to check every nook and cranny underneath these giant rocks, sometimes crawling under up to his waist. We managed to secure our dinner, a lobster for each of us. You just pulled that one out with your arm. North Minerva Reef has a diameter of around 4 miles, so there is more reef than we could possibly explore in a few days. You never know what you might discover, like this very old iron ship's anchor from an unknown wreck. You got him. Just grab him with your bare hands.
Yeah.
Gary couldn't help but grab one more lobster, but as the tide began to rise, the water cascaded heavily over the inside edge of the reef, filling the lagoon. We headed across the lagoon to a sole sandbar that is only exposed at low tide. This area is actually the remains of an attempt to develop a permanent settlement and independent nation here at Minerva Reef. But that's a whole story in itself. Today, a single functioning light tower stands tall to warn mariners of the reef. I suppose there is nothing that tastes better than grilled lobster tail just hours after you caught it with your own hands. Mashed potatoes, cabbage, and fresh lobster on anchor in the middle of Pacific Ocean. Doesn't get much better.
Been a really nice day here in Minerva Reef. We went out and did a little snorkeling out in the pass today and tried our hand at some fishing out there. Trolled a lure around, but no bites. But it was a nice, calm day here in the lagoon. We've been resting. We're gonna make some food for our passage because tomorrow morning we're gonna leave for Fiji. We have another 400 miles from here to Savu Savu, Fiji, where we're gonna clear into the country. And it looks like we'll have good wind. So we're gonna hoist the dinghy and do some cleanup of the boat, get everything put away and ready to sail. And we're excited. Tomorrow we'll be on our way and hope to arrive in Fiji in about 3 to 4 days. Motoring out the pass right now. It's right around high tide, so the waves don't really break over the reef as much, so it's actually a little harder to spot the pass at high tide, but I guess it's a little safer too since you have a little more water to work with. But it's a nice wide channel, and once we get out of the lagoon here, we're gonna hoist some sails and get on our way to Fiji. Okay, ready?
Ready?
How's your pucker level?
Spinny time.
First time flying the Spinnaker in a year, maybe?
Time. No, we flew coming to New Zealand.
We flew with Hannah, arriving to New Zealand.
Before long, the winds had increased to the limits of where we are comfortable flying the Spinnaker. So we unfurled our genoa and continued making miles north. The heavy rolling had me down below getting some rest, but Gary felt great chowing down on the last meat pie in the freezer from New Zealand. And then he was on galley duty again, this time whipping up some Mexican beef and rice wraps. Feeling much better so far. Hopefully this continues and I'll actually be able to help Gary with some watches.
Pretty good day one of sailing so far. We flew the Spinnaker for the first 4 or 5 hours, and then the winds picked up to over 15 knots, so we hustled to get that down and rode out to Genoa. And so far so good. 400 miles to go. How's your sail going? How you feeling?
Oh well, I was feeling pretty lousy for a little while. That we were going dead downwind, and the roll was too much.
Yeah, so we pretty much have a downwind run, and we can point a lot lower and almost go dead downwind with just the Genoa out. So we didn't have our main up, but it ends up being very rolly. Like loud, nauseating, trash can slamming open, rolly. So we just hoisted the main, and we're going to go a little bit more off the wind, and we'll have to jibe our way downwind, but it'll be way more comfortable. Probably actually a little slower for us because we're going the same speed, even off the wind, but it'll be a little nicer for 3 days.
More comfortable. We'll be able to sleep tonight, hopefully. Last night we didn't sleep well just because the boat was so loud and the motion was a lot.
Our sail plan was dialed in, and One Life was flying along at 7 knots, another stunning sunset capping off a beautiful day on the Pacific Ocean.
What's that island?
That's Motuku, part of Fiji, but we still have another 150 miles to go.
Although we were passing Fijian islands, we didn't have the option of stopping just yet. Fiji is very strict about biosecurity, customs, and immigration arrivals. It is strictly prohibited to stop to anchor anywhere in Fijian waters before making official clearance at a designated port of entry. But honestly, when the sailing is this good and easy, we didn't really mind another day at sea. It's days like this that we live for and keep us hoisting the sails and chasing the horizon over and over again.
So we're about 15 miles from the entrance of Fiji, and the sail went really well. We didn't film much because there wasn't too much to film. It was pretty boring, and we'll take that. We'll always take that. But we're gonna get the boat ready to check in. We're gonna hoist our Q flag, and then we're gonna call the authorities on the VHF. And the check-in process, we've heard, is a bit complicated. You're not allowed to bring in any fruits and veggies or pork products, eggs, things like that, honey. So we've actually done a really good job of eating our fruits and veggies and pork, so we don't really have anything. I think we have like an onion. Yeah, just ready to get there, and we're gonna go into the marina for a few days because we have to wait about 3 or 4 days to get our cruising permit, and then we'll go check out Fiji. You ready?
We furled in our genoa and then began the process of dropping our mainsail. We can furl it from the cockpit now, but it still takes a lot of winching.
We are just approaching the entrance to the creek.
Roger that. Please stand by. We've got our tender boat heading your way, and he'll escort you to our clearance dock. Over.
Roger that. We'll be standing by on 1-6. Good, yeah. Starboard, Heather.
The lush green shorelines guided us in as we made our way to Naui Marina and tied up at the arrivals dock. We were first inspected by a biosecurity officer who gave us the all okay and permission to drop our yellow quarantine flag. The customs and immigration officers came next, and once all the paperwork was stamped, we were officially welcomed to Fiji.
Bula!
Bula bula!
Alright. Welcome to Naui Island.
Dinaka.
Oh, thank you.
The hospitality of Fijians was already shining through in every interaction we had. I'm not sure that we ever felt more welcome upon arriving into a new country. We were safely tied up at the marina and ready to see what Fiji is all about. A big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check out the link in the description below.